All right, thank you, everyone. We'll now move back to the open portion of our meeting. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to our agenda to item 4.15, which is the rescindment of 2019-2022 operating budget decision on business license fees for 2021 and 2022. I have a recommendation from Councillor Campbell.
Right, this is that Council Number 1 rescind its decision of December the 10th, 2018 to 2019 to 2022 operating budget rates and user fees, business license fees. It's on page 319, columns 2021 and 2022. And number 2, hold the business license fees noted in the 2021 and 2022 columns to the business license fees in the 2020 column.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. We have a question from Councillor Carlson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you to City Manager Designate. This is being brought forward. Why? Because this is a budget increase.
It's
correct?
item A146.
Yes, but being brought by whom and to what purpose?
By administration.
Yes, yeah. Ms. Pinkston will walk through. This was brought forward by administration in light of the of COVID and trying to support economic activity in the community. The question was asked: Is this the right time to continue with that increase?
Okay, because most of these that I'm seeing are $1, $2 a year, and it's across the board. This is a budget pressure that will affect our citizens, all of our citizens, and yet we're giving breaks to outside non-residents, I see, on the backs of our citizens. Am I misunderstanding that?
Councillor Carlson, so a few weeks ago, and the weeks are blending, so it might have been more than that, there was the first reading of the business license bylaw for proposed changes that were approved in the 2019 to 2021 operating budget was withdrawn from the agenda because it was the recommendation of Agenda Committee, I believe, that it wasn't prudent to bring forward business license increases given the current economic condition. And so based on that decision, we were faced with this pressure, and so that's why this sheet is in front of you. I just wanted to go through, there's a few sheets that were replaced, and there should have been a package at your desk if you're in person, and it's included, it's updated on the agenda, is my understanding. Just looking for a nod from Mr. Westerson about that. It's on the updated on the agenda, but I just wanted to highlight the few sheets that we've added to the package or binder information. So there's a summary as well. It includes A1, which is PSCC dedicated supervisors, A2, which is PSCC dispatch. Those are both pressures. There was a correction to A33 related to an incorrectly including an FTE on the sheet, which is the cemetery records management. The library sheets were originally included in the binder as net, and we just wanted to break out the revenue adjustments. That doesn't change the overarching reduction initiative proposed. It's just allocation between revenues and expenditures. A85, which is the administration wage freeze, was adjusted per Councillor Higgins' resolution. And then there was also per Councillor Higgins' resolution was A145, which was related to travel and per diems for the mayor and city council. And then because of that conversation with Agenda Committee, we also included the A146, which is the elimination of the business license fee increase if we're not going to bring forward revised borrowing, or sorry, a revised business license bylaw, associated with the increases that were included in the budget when it was deliberated back in 2018.
Okay, thank you. I guess I'm just couldn't understand why this was coming forward. The largest increase in a quick review of the sheets you sent, thank you for sending them, is about a 25-cent per month. That's 25 cents per month for a local resident business operator. And yet some of the out of town folks coming in are getting a larger break than that, but our taxpayers then are having to pay for it. That, am I reading that correctly?
So the schedule as it was proposed for 2021 is what was included in the budget, which if all of those business license based on the number that was budgeted back in 2018 are renewed, then, and there's no increase applied, it would result in a $33,000 pressure based on what's in budget. I'm sorry, I'm not sure where you're looking at 25 cents a month.
A general licensed resident goes up $3 or $5. Oh, it's $5. Sorry. So that's more like 40 cents a month. Sorry. I misread that. 40 cents a month. Yet a non-resident hawker, peddler, or huckster gets a 60-cent a month rebate that's paid for by the taxpayer, or reduction, not a rebate.
So it's not necessarily a reduction. It would assume that the business license increases that were approved in 2020 would carry on. But because we had built in those increases into the budget, and that I think that's I'm not sure what the percentage is overall, but it's just an applied increase to each area.
No, I get it. I was hoping the intent would be to give our local residents a break, not a break across the board for itinerant shows or non-residents coming in. So that was my questions. Why are we giving break to folks outside our community, paid for by taxpayers?
You can split that out if you want. If you want to do an amendment to that. I'm not sure how that would work, but they still pay quite a bit more for business license. Regardless of whether there's a small increase, they still pay more. Part of this was symbolic too, if we were part of that discussion, was we're just saying to the majority of people that do business in Lethbridge are from Lethbridge, and because of COVID, we thought that they shouldn't have a business fee increase. Councillor Morrow.
I just, to the city treasurer, just want to follow up on Councillor Carlson. Wow, can't believe Councillor Carlson and I are kind of on the same page today. I like it.
My diary is getting full of entries.
So just so I understand, if I understood what you were saying, so if I'm looking at the 2020 column on the business license fees, and I see what those fees are, you're suggesting, or not you, what's in front of us here is suggesting that if we keep the fees for 2021 and 2022 at the 2020 level, we would be saving $33,000 in 2021 and $33,000 in 2022. Is that correct?
That's correct. Based on the decision to pull the borrowing bylaw, because we would, if the bylaw needs, or sorry, I keep saying borrowing, but it's not. It's the business license bylaw. We would need to go through first, second, and third reading of that, and And given that it was pulled from the agenda, we just brought forward this pressure for council's consideration because that was the recommendation in terms of how to proceed with that. So yes, this would remove the increase that was included in 2021 and 2022 related to business license.
And shift that cost to the taxpayer. Correct?
Well, back in 2018, it would have provided relief to the taxpayer, and so this is canceling out that relief.
Okay, you've lost me on that because I'm thinking the same as Councillor Carlson. We are saving, if we do this, and I can't believe we're actually wasting this much time on $33,000, which you identified the 1.6 million equals 1% tax, but we're dealing with this. So this $33,000 in 2021 and in 2022, we won't increase the fees. That means we are not collecting $66,000 over the next 2 years, which means that somehow it will be in our taxes. So the taxpayer pays. I need to understand that clearly, that is not the case, because I'm thinking it is.
If council does not approve a business license bylaw increase, the taxpayers will have a pressure of $33,000.
Thank you very much.
Questions?
Sorry, Councillor Deputy Mayor, if I may, just to follow up on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, City Treasurer, your last statement was that the taxpayer will have a pressure for that amount. So is this is the pressure that you showed us that we're adding on to the magical line that keeps moving? We keep adding pressure to the taxpayer?
I'm not sure
that
I would
correct?
call it a magical line, but yes, based on the slide that we would previously.
Sorry, movable line. The moving
The moving target.
The moving target.
It is
That's the lingo
included.
of the day.
Yes, so
Thank you.
So Councillor Campbell's made a recommendation that Finance Committee recommends to Council to rescind the decision of December 10th, 2018 for the 2019-2022 operating budget rates and user fee, business license fee, page 319, column 2021 and 22, and hold the business fee noted in the 2021 and 2022 columns to the business license fee in the 2020 column. Does anyone oppose us moving this forward?
Just a question, Deputy Mayor?
Certainly.
Just on process going forward, because we're going to have a long week trying to find apparently things to add and things to take away from the budget, and things that may seem like a good idea at the front end may not seem like such a good idea at the back end. Do we have a process? I know we did at the last budget we went through, a process for reconsidering or making these sort of in a notional column, but not finalized until we get near the end. It always seems that the first 15 or 20 items we discuss seem like a great idea at the time, but then when we get to the last 50 or 60, we think, well, we may want to rethink that. What is our process for reconsidering going forward?
Well, everything's has to go to council anyway. So if you recall last time, there were things that were brought up at council regarding CIP and budget that were discussed in Finance Committee, even though Finance Committee approved a block of resolutions or suggestions to go forward, or recommendations. So if that's possible for Ms. Pinkston's office to, when they're drawing this up, is to have a notional line in their spreadsheet to say, gee, we might think this is okay, but we're not sure. I guess we can do that.
Perhaps
No,
perhaps the city clerk can weigh in there on process.
you. As Deputy Mayor Miyashiro said, that these are all recommendations of the Finance Committee to Council. So at that point, well, at Finance Committee, there are no decisions really made, they're recommendations. So yes, I would say that things could be reconsidered at the Finance Committee prior to adjournment, whatever day that would be.
Okay, and thank you. That was my assumption that we could reconsider. Are the thresholds the same for a motion to reconsider at finance as they are at council? Do we need a 2/3 vote?
None of this becomes written in stone until we pass it in council. Right?
At the same meeting, I do not believe you need a 2/3 vote. It's just majority at the same meeting. So if it's at this meeting in a couple days, it would just be a majority.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
You. Councillor Campbell has a recommendation to move this item forward into our target. Is there opposition to this? Do we have opposition to this?
I do. Again, it's Joe.
Councillor Morrow? Okay. So by consensus, we'll move this forward to the target. Thank you. For what? Oh, Carlson too? Okay, sorry, I didn't see that. Councillor Carlson, Councillor Morrow. Thank you.
Thank you. I wasn't sure if we were actually having debate on any of these or just calling the question.
Yeah, Deputy Mayor, can we just get clarification on that? This is Councillor Kaufman.
Yeah.
I am operating here under the impression that we are adding these things for future conversation, as was previously discussed.
Yes.
That it just because something is being put forward doesn't necessarily mean we're going to agree with it during debate.
No,
This is not the place to be removing something unless the majority of us think, no, don't deal with it, correct?
For these ones, we're moving to the target so that we know where we have to get to. Unless you want to do a resolution, you want us to vote on each one of these as whether or not they're solid in the target, then that's another story. We thought we would create the target today, go through the deliberations in sections as we thought we would, and when these ones come up, they're in the target. But if council at that point wants to vote against, or finance committee wants to vote against them being in here, then we just have to find other things to reduce. That's the easiest way.
Thank you.
Right. That's the easiest way for us to do it.
Thank you. That's what I was assuming. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I just get clarity on that? So they will come up in all of the A sheets in front of us?
Yeah.
Every single one of these is there? Can I get
All the
confirmation?
A's. All the A's. So all the ones we've discussed today, you've had presentations on some. They've given you the numbers that they would like to see. We have said thank you very much. These last few that we're doing, we're adding actually right to the target to say these are what we want to reduce. We still have to pass them in a resolution when we get to that number in the initiative. And the city treasurer shaking her head yes.
Can I ask what number sheet this is, just so I can highlight it?
146.
Thank you.
Okay. Acting Mayor Hagan.
I don't have.
Okay, I'm sorry, just clarification again, and I'm probably, oh gosh, sorry. So these will not be discussed. They're actually going against, sorry, Deputy Mayor, I'm I'm lost at exactly what these, we've got a resolution to listen to them again, or this is automatically now put into adjustments in those blue, in the blue sheets.
Yeah, so these
They'll
ones,
be at.
yeah, so if we say yes to, we've said yes, say we say yes to 146, that $33,000 goes into our target for reductions.
But we have the opportunity to say yes or no,
At-
starting this.
Because we still have to deliberate on
finance.
146.
Okay,
This is just to
thank you.
get it into the target.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Morrow?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So in order to be consistent, we have added, I totally understand what we're doing. We're adding these, we're discussing them today. We're adding these to the pressure, the moving target that we will discuss again in the coming days. My question is, so we've been here all morning or all day since 8:30. Does that mean that every presenter that came in front of us, that presented to us and had an increase in, or a request that we increase, are those also added in the moving target and will be discussed?
No. They will be discussed, but they're not part of our target.
Well, why would,
Ones that
so
we
why
have-
wouldn't,
Those are ones
why
that we have
wouldn't
to
they?
discuss.
But why, but just like we're showing the added pressures for these last 2 or 3 that we've discussed, why would we not show the added pressure to the moving target to be consistent with everything that we've heard today? Why wouldn't we add those pressures to the moving target?
Because those aren't in the budget, for one. Their budget stops at December 31st, because we did that to them in the budget in 2018, when we said, no, we're only gonna fund them to 2020.
So the police, the library, the GALT, all of those presentations you just said are not in the budget?
Well, they're done December 31st. Treasurer?
Just, if I may, Councillor Morrow, just try and clarify that for you. So the presentations done by the GALT and the library included reduction initiatives. So those sheets are included in the binder or the online agenda package, depending on what you're looking at. And so those would just help to reduce the moving target. The presentation from the police included reduction initiatives, but it also included a conversation about 3 initiatives from the last budget deliberations that were conditionally approved for 2021 and 2022. But those initiatives were included in the base budget, just not provided to police until council makes a decision. So they're not included in the police budget at this point in time, but they are in base. So the decision on those for council is whether they want to continue to approve those 3 initiatives related to the watch, CPOs. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on the last one. PACT. And so those 3 initiatives are included in the budget, so would not change the moving target. The presentations from the fee-for-service community groups is the final initiatives that would pose a pressure and potentially could discuss today through Deputy Mayor Miyashiro if those wanted to be included in the target. But the 3 that have been discussed so far, the dispatch, PSCC, and the business license fees are, and the last one, which I included in the slide, is the fee-for-service community group pressure.
Thank you for that. So if I may, just to make sure, using an example, I like examples, and you talked about the 3 initiatives regarding the police that we had funded for a certain time period. the CPOs and whatever those other two were, the watch and as you described. So if finance committee members do absolutely nothing regarding those, and when I say nothing, I'm talking about a resolution. What are those in or are they out?
Out.
They're currently in base budget and do not, would not change the moving target.
Okay, so they are in the base budget, which means they will be funded.
Yes, well,
So
they're,
in o-
they're
so in
part
other
of
words-
they're part of the base budget existing pressure that we're trying to get to zero, but they're not gonna change the moving target.
So in other words, if a member of finance or a member of, finance wants to remove, and I'm just gonna pick one, the watch, there would need to be a resolution by a member of finance to remove the watch program for the next 2 years in this budget.
I would recommend that there's a resolution because it does specifically say in the last budget that those are conditional and that they needed to come back to council. So I would recommend, for clarity's sake, that those three initiatives have a resolution that either say that finance committee continues to support those and they would just stay in the base budget and carry on, or if council or finance committee does not support those could be used as relief to the remaining amount of funding that the budget needs to be reduced by.
Thank you. And my final point, if I can make it, Deputy Mayor, and it may be in here already, but I haven't seen it, or if I have, I don't remember where I saw it. Of these, what I want to call them, services, projects, whatever, that we've just, like, again, I'm going to refer to the watch. If there is no resolution to remove it, that will be in the budget. My question is, do we have, or is there in this document a page that clearly identifies and makes it easy for finance committee members to know these projects or these services were approved, and if you guys don't take them out, they're going to remain in, which then will mean you're adding pressure to the budget. Do we have that somewhere so that at least I and my colleagues will know that we've approved something for 2 years, and now if we don't take it out, it's going to continue in and add pressure? Is there a page like that that would identify and make it easy for us?
Yes, Councilor Moreau, I'm just trying to find it and it's not jumping out at me, but I will, if you can just give me a minute, I'll find it real quick here.
Thank you.
So the CPO one is 852.
Sorry, Deputy Mayor Marichero, I found it if you're okay with me to proceed. So included in the 2019 to 2021 operating budget document, and I can email these to Finance Committee. On page 386 is N38, which is the Special Constables, CPO Peace Officers, and the resolution says,
Sorry, Ms. Pinkston, what I'm looking for is just a simple page that says and identifies all these. Is that it?
so
Is
the
this-
actual.
Is this the one? Okay.
So the actual initiative, if you don't want the resolution, page N38 on page 247 shows conditional in 2021 and 2022. N38, 39, and 40 are the only three initiatives that have conditional funding that requires some sort of decision by Finance Committee and ultimately City Council.
Sorry, I'm looking at my binder. What page is this? What page is this?
So this is from the operating budget binder that exists today. So I will scan in this information and send it to City Council.
Thank you very much.
Councilor Moore, some of these initiatives also refer back to an N from our last budget, if those are the case. I think there's one or two other ones. All right, so let's get back on track. Councilor Carlson, you have something?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So thank you, Ms. Pinkston, so when we approved them conditionally, we built those into the budget. That I just want to get 100%
That is correct.
clear.
Those
Excellent.
amounts are included in base budget.
Thank you.
Right, are we clear? So we still have the approval to move forward the business license fee, item A146, to our target. Is there opposition to this? Other than Councilor Morrow and Councilor Carlson?
If we're going to be debating this,
We're not
In
debating
full-
anything. We're moving into the target. We just talked about this for half an hour.
yes, and I said as long as we're going to be debating this in the future, I have no problem putting in the target for now.
Yeah, fine. Councilor Moore, the only one that's opposed to this, then we'll move it to the target. Thank you. It's already 4:25. I'm not sure if we can get through the next two things in the half an hour. So I am going to call it a day, and we'll reconvene at 9 o'clock in the morning. Councilor Campbell, adjournment? Oh, just a recess, or you want to recess? We'll recess tomorrow till 9. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, I'm assuming we hang up and reconnect tomorrow.
No, stay on the line.
Are we pulling an all-nighter?
Looks like it.
We make some interesting decisions at 3 a.m.
Just
Take care,
watch,
everyone. Be safe.
just stay on the line and watch The Crown.